Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players podcast. This is our show for Friday, March 31st. We're talking about the races of Saturday, April 1st, April Fool's Day. I'm your host, Peter Thomas Forte, back with you in the Brooklyn bunker. Once again, thanks for joining us wherever you get your podcasts or on our YouTube channel. We'll reach out right away to our YouTube viewers and ask you who you think is going to win these two big Kentucky Derby prep races this weekend. We're going to kick off the show talking about those and also the Gulfstream Park Oaks. And to do that with us, we bring in two guests, the first of whom is joining us after a long absence, but it's great to have her back on these airwaves, and we'll be seeing her a bunch. She's in South Florida working for our friends at World Horse Racing. She is Naomi Tukker. Naomi, how are things?
Very well, Pete. Yeah, it's been a bit of an absence, but I'm glad to be back on. We had some connectivity issues, so hence I've relocated to outside, and it's so nice and sunny here. Obviously, Florida, hot weather, so it's possible to kind of sit wherever. So it's pretty different from where it was before.
You sound good, you look good, and of course, viewers to this show, the regulars, they know we know all about dodgy hotel Wi-Fi on the In the Money airwaves. A man who does not seem to be plagued by any Wi-Fi issues at all. He's riding high with his baseball team, 1-0 on the season. He's Nick Tammaro. Oh, they didn't win yesterday?
No, they lost. They lost 3-2. We were there too. Didn't help.
Oh, that's not good. Were they winning at some point? Why did I think they won? Maybe I'm just.
We were up 1-0 late and gave up a game-tying home run, and then
Was it a good experience with the ballpark? I mean, it's a long season.
Oh yeah, it was great. It was great. Little one loved it. She was way more into the game than normal. So
that's awesome. Yeah. I had a funny conversation with Perrin this morning, who has vandalized my light board. By the way, as you can see, she has replaced the In the Money Players podcast with one representing herself. But I told her we were going through different results, and she's a Mets fan. Orioles second, Padres third. She's told me. And so I told her the Orioles and Mets won, but the Padres lost. She said, "Daddy, does that mean they're out?" I was like, "No, it's 161."
Too much college basketball lately. Yeah,
exactly. So she's getting into it, but still learning the ropes. But we are not here to talk about baseball, as much fun as that is. We're here to talk horse racing. And let's start in South Florida, Naomi, with the first race we're doing. I should point out, Nick and I will also have an analysis of all the Gulfstream Park stakes for behind the paywall on In the Money Plus, and then Drew Coatney on In the Money Plus is going to be doing a full card write-up. So loads more on Gulfstream, but we want to get the big 3-year-old races taken care of here for you, the audience, and we'll start with the Gulfstream Park Oaks. Naomi, what are your thoughts on this one?
So I thought this was actually a really interesting race. Kind of looked at it a few times, kind of trying to see where I wanted to go. I mean, it's similar. You can look at it from a betting point of view. You can see that the morning lines are pretty close together as well, and that there's sort of a lot of ways to go. I ended up landing on the number 6, Anatomically. Of course, Todd Pletcher has 2 very good horses in here. This is going to be her second start as a 3-year-old. The reason I liked her is because I feel like there is enough pace in here to kind of maybe slot in nicely behind them and then kind of get that trip that you want. I was watching back that forward gal run at Gulfstream Park. She kind of missed the start by a smidgen there, was on the back foot forward. I thought Jose pulled her out nicely, kind of really started to get her going, right? Get her rolling, get her trying. Felt like she just needed that extra distance. I think Pletcher on purpose put her in a 7-furlong event to really set her up for something like this. Now, he knows what it takes to win this race. He's won it about 4 times, but not since 2014, though, which is interesting. So I am siding with one of the Pletchers. I think his other one looks very good as well, Miracle, who looks like she either is going to take the lead or kind of sit handily enough. Again, as I mentioned, the pace seems to be there for it. And she's been going up against some really, really good fillies. Pretty Mischievous, Hosier filly, of course, Pretty Mischievous, currently leading the Kentucky Oaks points board. So clearly she's kept the right company and held her own very well in it.
I hear the case on Atomically. I had in the mix, and it's funny because I usually think of Todd Pletcher just bringing them back to the races fully formed. But I agree with everything you said. Watching that run through just looked like one who might benefit from more ground, and I was tempted to try to keep on side. Perhaps I'm being a bit of a homer here. If folks know our history with Black Type Thoroughbreds, who've been sponsored with us since day one, and of course, good friends with Jake Ballas and Maddie Mattmiller. But I am really interested in their new acquisition, Sacred Wish, in this spot. That was a big figure from the Oaklawn race. and she shapes like one to me who is going to benefit from the added ground. Not easy going from 6 furlongs to 8.5 furlongs, but I made her my top pick over Atomically. And I also did want to keep Dorth Vader in the mix. It may be a case of last time was the time for Dorth Vader in the forward gal, but I thought she attended that fast pace, obviously drew off to win well, and looks to have worked well since. So I was going to be a little spready, 7, 8, and 6. Naomi siding with the Pletcher runners 6 and 5. Nick, how do you see this Gulfstream Park Oaks?
Yeah, I mean, I think the winner when push comes to shove probably comes from that outside 4. I picked Dorth Vader. I know, if you miss the wedding, don't go to the funeral, but it was that was a pretty compelling performance, all things considered. They went quick early, and she stayed on, and she stayed on very nicely to draw off and win comfortably. Apparently is comeback training just as well as she was prior to the Devona Dale. So I'm going to give her another shot to stretch out. I think the distance might be one of the factors, but the mile and a 16th is a little quicker than the mile and an 1/8 at Gulfstream. So hopefully she can work her way into position. I have no argument with Atomically at all. I felt similarly to Naomi that she probably needed her last. And I think ultimately she wants to go long as well. So one of the 2 daughters of Gervin for me primarily, but I won't be beaten by Miracle. I think Sacred Wish is going to have to improve a lot. But I also think that this is a great spot for her to try because there's not really anybody in here you'd fear all that much. It'll really just be a question of how quickly George Weaver can turn her around off that trainer change.
Let's move on to the big one, the race that gives the day its name, the Grade 1 Florida Derby. We've got a little bit of background noise there. I'm not sure if that's something that either of you have.
I think that's me. If I.
Now you're muted, but all right, you can just put yourself back on when it's time to talk. Thank you, Naomi. The big one, the Florida Derby. I'm wildly uncreative in here, so I'll just go first. I'm not concerned about the post in particular for Forte. I feel like this is his race to lose. I had him something like 10 points clear on ability figures. I could make a case, if the track is playing a certain way, maybe a runner like Mage, who had the tough trip last time, could improve, but I have this as 90% Forte and maybe 10% Mage type of a deal. I really think it's the Forte show for all the obvious reasons that don't really need to be delineated. Just look down at the PPs. Nick, will bring you in first to see am I being overly bullish when it comes to Forte, or are you expecting more of the Forte show in the Florida Derby?
I think I'd be worried about the post if they said that he had to run attached to the outside rail. Like that's probably the only way against these horses. I mean, he towers over this field, Pete. This almost looks like a fait accompli on paper, right? It just doesn't look like there's really anybody in here that has a specific race that we can point to and say, okay, if they run that, then Forte could be in some trouble. You sort of alluded to the idea that maybe Mage clears and somehow all of these Saffie Joseph horses don't show speed and he ends up getting loose and it becomes like a 2019 maximum security scenario. I mean, even saying all of that, I'm thinking to myself, that's not happening. So he's supposed to win. I think from a wagering perspective, what you're supposed to do is find the right combination of long shots to play underneath. And, to me, I'll use horses like Jungfrau and Mr. Ripple a little bit underneath because I think that's the only way to bet the race from a vertical perspective. In terms of multis, it's just Forte.
All right, I like the sound of that. Give me numbers if you have them on your underneath selections there.
Yeah, I mean, the horses I'll use primarily underneath are the 1, 2, and 8.
1, 2, and 8 underneath a Forte, who goes as number 11. Naomi, will bring you back in to your thoughts on the Florida Derby. Can we make it a chorus for Forte?
I mean, it is kind of his race, isn't it? I feel like a broken record. You guys have already highlighted it. I was just so impressed by his comeback race, the fountain of youth, just really sitting behind the pack. Irad, super patient, knew the horse he had underneath him. And the moment he pulled him out around the outside, made that sweeping move, he just cleared away like the entire field wasn't even there. He's prepared by a master trainer in Top Pletcher, who's won this race about 6 times. To me, on paper, he shouldn't lose. So then I thought it was really interesting to start looking at, well, what horses do you use for the exotics underneath? Because, look, I'm not taking a stand against Forte. I want him to win. This horse is incredible. He schooled in the paddock. I saw the video. He looked really good. I saw him this morning. I went to go see him at the barn. He was just very happy being rubbed down by his groom. It's just beautiful looking individual and is really filled out as a 3-year-old. Truly what you want to see from a juvenile champ going into his 3-year-old year, really that filling out, that maturity. Look, he seems cool as a cucumber. So I'm siding with him completely. But then underneath, definitely had an interest in Mage for Gustavo Dogani Jr. Also went to go and see Mage. He was having a blast in his stall, just chilling as well. Very unexposed runner. 2 starts, obviously very impressive in his maiden special weight win. But that Fountain of Youth race, that to me is a lot of promise. A lot of things he had to overcome in that race. He bumped the gate leaving, ends up sitting 3 wide, 4 wide almost even. Started to tire at the top of the lane, as you would expect, right? Went from 7 furlong to mile 16. But he refused to give up. He ran a 4th, but he was still going. He didn't completely pack it in. That was his 2nd start. That was against graded stakes winners. I think Mage is a very interesting individual. Gustavo Delgado Jr. did tell me this morning saying he has only had 2 starts. I think he's going to get better and better and better with the races. So will he be on top of his game enough in this field? I don't think enough to beat Forte, but I think the talent is there to run underneath. Now, the other one, Nick already mentioned as well, Jungfrau for trainer Bill Mott. She looked at the pedigree there because obviously went long last time, completely had, missed the kick, got stuck behind him, super keen, kind of a throwaway race. But you look kind of at his pedigree, of course, a homebred, Juddmont. Female line, his grandam Special Duty, she was the winner of the English and French 1,000 Guineas. Now, by DQ both, but like really small margins. Really interesting. But meaning that there is that stamina, and it's a beautiful female line as you were to expect from Juddmont. So I think Jungfrau is really interesting. Being placed in here for a Hall of Fame trainer after, a bit of a tough race in the Withers, you have to give Jungfrau a second look.
I don't mind that idea for underneath at all, and could see myself messing around very much in that direction. And Naomi, appreciate those on-the-ground insights. Always cool to get somebody who's been able to see these beasts in the flesh. Let's move out to Arkansas for our final race of this segment of the show. Much more to come later on, diving deep into Aqueduct and Santa Anita. But while we have this team together, I want to talk about the Arkansas Derby. Nick, we'll bring you in for this one. It felt like a race that's of particular interest in the way it's bringing together some of the intersecting form lines from the different Triple Crown prep races we've seen so far. Where do you land, and what do you think of this field in general?
Yeah, I think it's a good, evenly matched field, no doubt about it. I'd be willing to take a stand against the morning line favorite Reincarnate, who I think is being built up based on some kind of questionable trip analyses from various people. So I went with Rocket Ken. I like Rocket Ken coming over from Florida for Bill Mott. Obviously, the connections here are Arkansas based, so no surprise to see him land in the Arkansas Derby. I thought he ran very, well enough 2 back in the Holy Bull, came back and improved. You and I talked a little bit after the Holy Bull about how he was going to have to run better in his next start, and he did. And so I think he comes in the right way. I think he's got the right running style to be just a little bit off the pace. And he looks to me like a horse who's going to get better with more ground and more opportunities. So I like him in Angel of Empire primarily. I think that Reincarnate is probably the other horse, so to speak. There's not really anybody else in there that I'm terribly interested in. Red Route 1 is going to get some attention, but that's just not my kind of horse. He's drops way too far back. I think the blinkers going on is sort of a desperation move to keep him closer, but I don't think there's enough pace in here to set up that kind of bid either.
It's always hard when they add blinkers and you think they're going to show more speed, but with a closer, will it take the sting out of that finish? And will runners like Red Route 1, I mean, certainly looking at any kind of pace map, Red Route 1 is going to be so far back. Reincarnate is interestingly on the pace map, fairly close, but I don't know. I just feel like I think you and I are of a similar view that last run might have been a little bit flattered.
Well, he was running third no matter what, Pete, right? I mean, so I've heard he had to take kickback and he was farther back and all these things. I mean, they flew in front of him and he got himself into position. He ran fine. He would have run third had he not gotten in trouble. He got in trouble. He still ran third. So, I don't know what would make somebody really dying to take 5-2 in this spot when he was 9-2 last time against probably what was a weaker field top to bottom.
I land with you on Rocket Can as my top pick in this spot. I think we'll get a good mid-pack sit and has shown the ability to show tactical speed and has shown the ability to finish. And I'm just interested to see how, what kind of a measure of those Florida form lines we're going to get stacking up with horses coming in from the other circuits. Naomi, how about you? When you look at this Arkansas Derby, who's your idea of the winner?
I was about to say Nick stole my thunder, but you landed on the same horse as me. So now we're all in unison on the Bill Mott trainee, Rocket Cat. Yeah, he's my top pick. I had Reincarnate in second because I'm just questioning him quite a bit, actually. But didn't particularly like any of the others that much to put him ahead of him. But yeah, Rocket Cat, he was right there on the pace in that Fountain of Youth. I thought he just was running solid clicks there. Got sandwiched between foes. Really pinned his ears back. Really had to go for it. I'd like to see that in a 3-year-old. Clearly keeping the right company, right? Forte in there, and then ran against Confidence Game, who won the Rebel afterwards. I think Rocket Can is probably going to get the right kind of trip. Obviously, I have faith in Bill Mott. I was already saying that earlier about Jungfrau. I kind of trust his judgment of placing horses. I think Rocket Can has just found himself quite a nice field, like Nick said, evenly matched, it seems. So I don't necessarily want to go with a heavy favorite in here because, like I said, Reincarnate, I just kind of, looking at that Rebel, the doors got shut on him early. But by his own doing, though, he wasn't that quick. He wasn't quick out the gates. They just ran in front of, they just kind of went like that. And it was just because he didn't hold his own position. So I was just like, he should be more forwardly placed there because he has been in the past. But I just don't think he's a lock-in. Yes, he's put some solid figures on paper. Sorry, I know you guys can hear the wind. But I have him underneath in second because I don't like Red Route 1. Like Nick was saying, not my type of horse either. Gets way too far back, needs a blistering pace. I don't think it's going to happen here. And indeed, how much are the blinkers going to put him forward? I just put a few question marks there, so I'm not going to use Red Route 1. Obviously, if he now rolls from behind or something, you guys can all blame this on me, but I'm not going with him. I like Angel of Empire. Looking at some of the horse he ran again, obviously, Risen Star 2 Fills came back to frank that form in the Jeff Ruby. Not the strongest of preps, though, so franks it, but wouldn't be like the top level for me. So I think Angel of Empire needs an honest pace setup, not a quick pace, but an honest pace. I think that should be there. So I definitely think he'll be there and about, but I'm going to put my my money on Rocket Can.
All right, 7-8-6 for Naomi. We ended up being a chorus on both of those 3-year-old races. And Naomi, I think if Bill Mott and Todd Pletcher have a good day, you'll have a good day.
I think so too. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty safe putting my eggs in the baskets with those two trainers, right? I mean,
there's worse ways to fly. There's worse ways to fly. All right, we got a lot more coming up on the show. If you're watching on YouTube, this is it for YouTube, but go over wherever you get your podcasts and listen to the rest. Let us know who you think is going to win these big races down in the comments. Nick, I'll see you on the plus side. Naomi, we'll see you soon. Have a fantastic time in Florida and enjoy your work for World Horse Racing.
Thank you. I'm just glad to be here. The sun is shining. I mean, I was in upstate New York where it freezes during the day. So this is a welcome change. I'm very, very pleased with my location at the moment.
Tell me about it. All right, guys. We'll talk soon.